what other data points have you found, or omics, if you will, to be considered alongside of whole genome sequencing data to develop a more complete understanding of how our genetic expression can impact our lives?
Yeah, well, one way to answer that is to think about genetics as the tip of the spear for a whole revolution in proactive care. And if you think about genomics, there is a layer on top of that of epigenetics, what's controlling the genes to sort of turn on more intensively or less intensively. There's proteomics, in which you are modifying the proteins. There's the microbiome, and babies certainly have a lot of poop if you want to study that. Um, and then there's the whole arena of wearables, all sorts of ways to monitor your health. And there's various levels of evidence for both efficacy and cost effectiveness for all these different things, which are kind of, I think of them like waves of innovation that are moving us in the direction of preventive care and health maintenance rather than sick care. Genomics is probably the tip of the spear because there's the most evidence right now, today, that this can help you. But it's also colliding with the reimbursement system that we have today in our healthcare. And in that sense, it's breaking new ground. We have never been able to get third-party payers to even contemplate paying for preventive genomics, paying for a population testing. Now, it's just starting to crack in a few places. And one of those places, for example, in the UK right now, there is an initiative where Jewish families can get testing under the National Health Service for BRCA1 and BRCA2 sequencing. It's very limited, two genes, but it will be paid for. Um, in certain countries around the world, in part as an outgrowth of our work in BabySeq, which has gone on for 10 years, there are now 27 different research studies or initiatives to sequence children or newborns. And some of these are in countries with single payer systems. And in some of them, they are actively talking about paying for this from day one because they recognize that if done correctly, it can actually amortize funding that you would later spend on sick children because you've been able to prevent something. There are a lot of unanswered questions about cost effectiveness, in part because we've never really done this on large populations. We don't exactly know what percentage of children who carry these mutations literally go on to develop the condition and what percentage don't. So it's hard to work backward and figure out how much cost you could save. But the bottom line is that the the resistance is still there. Our whole American healthcare system is built around sick care, but genomics is banging at the gate.
Absolutely. Of course, I feel this way, right? We're reaching a tipping point. For as long as you have changed hearts and minds, not only of consumers, but your colleagues, of the value of genomic information and incorporating that into the healthcare ecosystem, I just feel that there is a lot of momentum. Certainly in oncology, with the medical societies endorsing and placing these in our guidelines, the demand for genetic counseling. There's just, as you mentioned earlier, there's not enough genetic counselors, there's not enough talent. And with BabySeq going on for 10 plus years and the discoveries that you mentioned, it's a federally funded program of the National Institute of Health. And today, as we talk, there's a lot of uncertainty around what's going to happen with that funding. What's at risk if we can't continue to fund these studies, or that momentum is somehow stunted by, uncertainty and discourse?
Yeah. I'm very sad to see what's happening over these last few months with many health-related institutions in our government, and particularly with National Institutes of Health, which is a national treasure of biomedical funding, produces several dollars worth of value for our economy for each dollar we spend. NIH has disproportionately funded some of the most exciting discoveries in the world, and certainly supported the work I've done with a project called MedSeq over 10 years ago, and then shortly after that, the project BabySeq. So that is disrupting that health funding system is a great risk to progress and to the next generation of science. I think we're all very concerned about that. Some of this can be picked up by other countries. Other countries with a single payer system will be looking at what it means to do population screening. Some of this can be picked up by commercial laboratories and pharma companies, but I don't think there's any substitute for the kind of fundamental research that NIH has provided.